Hello. We're waiting for people to join. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone. Hi, Tolunel. Hi, O2PK. Dedayor. Folarin. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Roseline. I am so happy to be here today. So we're going to be discussing something very good afternoon, O2PK. We're going to be discussing something very, very serious right now. This is going to be serious for people who are already processing their applications and are processing their visas and all the gathering all the requirements that they need to fulfill their study abroad dreams, depending on the country you're going to. And then we're also going to be talking about people who would be ready maybe in the next couple of months, say for January or for next year. What are you looking at? This is very important because there are several changes that has happened, and today what we're talking about is really the free-floating naira that the CBN just announced last week, and what the effect of that policy would mean for international students. I think people are already feeling it. People are already seeing what the implications are, at least for this period. But we're going to be talking about what you can do if you still want to study in September. For people going to the UK or other countries that maybe like Ireland that also has a September intake, what you can do for now. And for people who would be deferring to January or starting up their process for January, February, or for sometime next year, what you can start to do now. And then we'll be talking about some predictions. Why did the central bank take this step? What is in it for us? Is it going to be advantageous to people who are looking to study abroad in the future, or is it something you have to start buckling up for? You need to start looking for money, right? So what exactly what is it exactly? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I see that we have quite a number of people, so I think I'll just go ahead and start. I did arrive a couple of minutes late, so I think it's the right time for me to go ahead and start. So last week we woke up to the news, I think it was on Tuesday or one of those days last week, that the CBN would no longer peg the naira at a certain price, peg the naira to foreign currencies, mainly the dollar, at a certain price. What that means is that the dollar and the pounds and euro and whatever foreign currency would be exchanged using the naira depending on what the market forces say. So whatever the market says the naira is supposed to be worth, that is what you're going to be using to exchange the naira. And the idea was our new president doesn't want us to have two exchange rates. So what we have had for the longest time was that the CBN, our central bank, pegs our naira, determines what value our naira is supposed to be versus other foreign currencies. And so they peg it, and from time to time this figure is reviewed. So we all know when dollar was I'm going to be using dollar here because that's like the major foreign currency. We all knew when dollar was under 100, and then it went to under 200, then it went to under 300, then it went to under 400, and up until last week it was just under 500 before this policy took effect. What that meant was that if you were getting the dollar from the appropriate channel, which is the CBN, or through commercial banks with the approval of the CBN, you were going to be getting it at that rate, plus maybe other charges that they were going to be charging you. But this meant that it was only people that had legitimate need for the foreign currency that could actually access this. So for every other person who has to do certain things, you want to do business, you want to travel, you want to this, you want to that, getting access to foreign currency, to Forex at that particular exchange rate was a hurdle. In fact, it was impossible. So you were either able to do it from Q for traders, people who import with the approval of the central bank, or you could do the Form A. Now, for people who want to pay school fees, people who want to have upkeep money during their studies abroad, people who want to take business trips as well as leisure trips, you also had access to Forex within a 3-month period. So say you were going on a trip for leisure, you had access to about $4,000 per quarter. So you could access that 4 times in a year. At some point it reduced to around 2,000, at some point it reduced to around 1,000 for some banks. Now, that was what was prevailing, using the appropriate channels. Now, if you wanted to now get this foreign currency because you did not have time, because that channel was really slow and very difficult, if you did not want to do this, you had to buy from the black market. So the black market ideally is not a good thing. Black market means black market. It means it's black. It means it's something that is not supposed to exist. It's a parallel market. But it was something that was existing within our system because there just wasn't any other way for us to get Forex. And it was necessary at that time. So what were we supposed to do? We need to get a foreign currency to be able to live our lives. The Naira wasn't going to, be spent in any other country except Nigeria. And we needed to do things outside of Nigeria. So we had another exchange rate. And that was what, that was the prevailing exchange rate for almost everybody. For dollar, it was changing as of last week for around 750 to 770, depending on the channel you use, who you're buying from. If it's Bureau de Change, or you're buying from someone that you sent, you sent money to someone in the US or some other country, so it was changing as at that price. Now, what the CBN has done is to level it, right? So now, the idea is, because that's not what is happening right now, but what they said, the idea is that we will now have one currency. So the pool, the reason for the fluctuating currencies before was the unavailability of Forex from the proper channel. So you couldn't get from CBN, you couldn't get from the banks, right? So you had to get from the black market, the parallel market. Now, we will now have access to this Forex. We will now have access through the bank. So there will not be any need for you to go to the black market, for you to go to the Bureau de Change. We are yet to see this. This is just about a week that the policy just started. That is the idea. So I'm just talking about the idea. What it will be in practicality, what we witness eventually might be different. So there will not be any need for you to go to the black market. Now, the pool, how will I call it now? The reason, that the people who sell, at the black market rate and, pull up this rate to some exorbitant amount would no longer be there, because the demand would very, very much reduce. So even if there's now a black market, it will be around the same rate. So let's say you get from the bank, let's use the prevailing the figure that we have today. When I checked, is around 860 or thereabouts. Okay, I'm going to check again. Just give me a moment. I think the dollar, I'm going to use USD. The dollar is 693.5. Let's just say the dollar is 694, and the parallel market currently is around 770, right? So you can see that the difference between what you can get at the bank and what you're going to be getting at the parallel market is almost at par. But we're getting there. We'll get to the point where it will probably not be more than 10 or 20 naira difference, because the demand is just not there. For now, people still cannot access Forex the way they want to, because we still don't know what amount of Forex banks have, if banks will still be fulfilling payments abroad, if they will have enough money to help people pay up their school fees abroad. Even with the current rates, we don't know anything, right? What we do know is that the foreign exchange is rising. It's rising and is becoming something that is alarming. The idea for this, originally when the CBN announced this, was that the rates, would become, there'll be the same rate both in the bank and outside the bank, and this would drive the Naira, the exchange rate down. But what we're seeing is that the exchange rate that was the official exchange rate is wanting to catch up with the parallel, rather than the parallel coming down to catch up with what was what the CBN was quoting, which meant that they were, under valuing what the naira actually was, right? So, but it's still something we have to wait to see. We still need to wait to see if the dollar and naira is going to the naira is going to appreciate in value versus the dollar. This depends on so many factors. There's so many economic factors that has to be put in place. We need to have, we need to become a producing country. We need to produce our own goods. We need to export and bring in Forex. We need to reduce our dependence on foreign made goods. We're more or less like, how will I put it, an import country. So almost everything we do has to be imported, and that is why we always need the dollar. That's why we always need foreign currency. But when we become self-sufficient, the reliance on foreign currency will reduce, and then that in turn will mean that our naira will start building in value. So, but we are yet to get there, and I think that's just years and years away. You cannot start producing today and produce enough to export. You've not even produced for over 200 million Nigerians, and you want to produce enough to export to help drive the naira down. Also, another way to get in Forex is through remittance. So when you have people abroad sending in money to Nigeria, because there is no advantage going to the parallel markets to exchange, you would exchange it using the bank. So, for instance, someone in the UK sending £1,000 to their loved one, they can send it using the bank. Before, people don't send using bank. Why? Because you would get a better deal buying through black market. So, a lot of the Forex that was coming in through, loved ones, remittance by Nigerians staying abroad, was going into the parallel market because it was more, you could get way more money, almost double, almost 200% versus what you could get at the bank. But now that the rates are catching up to each other, these people are going to be encouraged to send through the bank, and I think there are certain incentives that are going to be put in place to encourage people to send it through the right channel. That in turn would make foreign currency available to these banks to be able to make the payments that people want to make. Then lastly, of course, our crude oil is an avenue for the country to get in Forex. Once we get in that Forex, these Forex are made available to the appropriate channels, and people are able to use this to carry on their business, carry on their trip. So that's like a rough layman summary that I think everybody can understand. Now, for you who want to pay your school fees, so I'm going to be talking about people that are going this September. Then I'm going to talk about people that want to go in the future. What does that mean? People that want to go in the future, it can go left or it can go right. So I'm going to be talking about the two scenarios and what you should prepare for if you really want to study abroad, or if your loved one wants to study abroad. But for you that are going now in September, it's very critical. There are two options. If you cannot work with the rate that is the prevailing rate now, you can always defer, because what they are predicting is that eventually the rates are going to come down, blah blah blah. But that's just some people saying. Right now the pound is catching up to 900. Some people are predicting that to go as much as 2,000, which is going to make it unbelievable. So we don't know. It might drop, it might go up. We're going to talk about what we're seeing now. So if you're not able to afford it, then you can actually start making preparations for January. You can defer your admission and hope that everything settles. But if you can afford it, these are the things you need to keep in mind. First of all, before now, it was the official rates that the visa office, home office, if you're going to the UK, the Irish embassy uses also the official exchange rate for euro. If you're going to Ireland, if you're going to Canada, they also use the official exchange rate for Canada if you want to submit your bank statement for proof of funds, right? So even though we were going to be paying our visa fees, or maybe doing one or two other things, paying our school fees directly to the school using black market, when it came to showing your financial position, the embassy used the official rates, or rather something close to the official rate, and this was determined by the figure that was what's the word? The figure that is quoted, yeah, that's the word. The figure that is quoted on Oanda. Oanda is the official conversion website that most of the visa offices use. So usually they use what is quoted on Oanda, and this was for dollar around 300 or so less, for pound around 400 or more less than what we're getting today. So, but now I'm going to tell you what Oanda is saying. For US dollar, if you're going to the US, it's 493.5. The dollar was around 460 a week ago. So we're talking around 200 and some change that's added on top of what you need to show for the same amount of money. So if you wanted to show $15,000 dollars in your bank account, let's just use that as an example. Initially you should be looking at maybe around 7 million or thereabout. Now you're looking at maybe close to 10 million, right? You need to top up. Now let's see for Canadian dollars. Canadian dollars was around 300 and something before. On Oanda now it's 524. So people that are going to Canada, you need to look at that. Then for euro was around 500 and something as well. Now euro is 700 and euro was around 400 and something as well, like 480 or thereabout. Now it's 757. Wow, the euro is even lesser than dollar. Okay, no, it's not lesser. Okay, dollar is 693. So pound, most of what I'm going to be talking about is going to be related to the people that are going to the UK, because we have more of those people. The pound is now 885 and it's been rising steadily. Yesterday it was 856. The day before that it was 830 something. Before that it was 700 and something. So every day is appreciating. Who knows if we wake up tomorrow and it's 900? What does this mean for you? It means that if you are counting your 28-day bank statement using the previous official rate, initially then we used to advise our students to use 600, because usually the rate was always under 600, and 600 was a safe amount to use in case of fluctuations. But now it's way beyond that. So if you've used 600 to calculate your proof of funds, you're no longer within your proof of fund is no longer enough to quote your financial stance, right? Now you need to actually increase it. For us, the safe bet is to put around 1,000, because we don't know what. In fact, 1,000 might actually end up not being enough, but at least it is something that is it might remain within that rate for a while you're counting your 28 days and then you're submitting your visa. The good thing is that as at the time you take your biometrics, usually that is the date that the visa officer is going to use to calculate your money. So let's say you submit your biometrics today and the rate is 885 and you have 886, that's the amount you use in calculating your proof of funds, then you're good to go, right? But if you have anything less than this, then automatically it's a visa denial. So we don't know yet if these visa offices are going to do anything about it in terms of using a lower rate. Okay, say how much is pounds? Now pounds is 885, official rate 885. So if you're doing your bank statement right now, you cannot use 885. Obviously, you need to use like 50 to 100 naira more than what is quoted on Oanda because of fluctuations. So if you've used 600 or below before and you're currently counting your bank statement, you need to top it up, make it up to 1,000, and then start all over again. Now, if you've already counted and your bank statement is ready and you're ready for the visa, then what you need to do is top up your school fees. That's another angle you can do. So let's say you had paid 4,000 before. You need to now calculate. So how do you calculate? You calculate what the difference is that you're owing. So let's do one small calculation now. Say you needed, let's say you needed you're going to a school that is 10,000. Let's just use 10,000 because it's a round figure, and you paid First of all, let me tell you how to calculate your proof of funds. Your proof of funds is the balance of your school fees plus your maintenance costs. That's what your proof of funds is supposed to show. So they want to know that you have enough money to pay your school fees and you have enough money to maintain yourself for a year, right? So usually when you get an offer in the UK, you're supposed to pay a deposit. This deposit is determined by the school. You can always go above, but you can't go below. So let's say you got a school of 10,000. There's really no school of 10,000, but because it's a round figure, right? Oh no, let's say you got a school of 14,000. Let me use 14 here. And then you paid 4,000. So you have 10,000 left as your balance. So 10,000, right? And you're going to a school that's outside of London. Now, if you're going to a school inside of London, your maintenance fee is different from when you're going to a school outside of London, because London is more expensive. There's higher rent rates, higher cost of living. You know, London is just expensive. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and things are expensive. So if I'm going to use the rate for outside London, which is 9,207 pounds. So plus 9,207 pounds. So you have to have 19,207. So if you used the rate of 600 to calculate this for your bank statement before, so let's times this by 600. You're supposed to have 11,524,000. So let's just say 11.6 million. That's what you would ideally need to have on your bank statement. But let's use this current let's use this current rate as at today now. So we say we have 19,207, right, times 885. So this is 16,998,000. So let's just say 17 million. So if we minus 17 million, let's say 17 million minus 11.6, sorry, 17 million minus 11.6. So you have 5.4 million as the difference. So if you can, you need to top up your fees with minimum of 5.4. Let's just even say you're using this bank statement. But if you can't and your bank statement is already ready, what you can do is pay your school fees, right? Pay your school fees. So how are we going to know that we've paid enough so that our current bank statement is going to be valid for our application? You now need to divide what you have as a balance with what you are supposed to pay. So if we divide this 5.4 by 885, which is today's prevailing rates, divide by 885, wow, you're going to pay a lot of money. It's about 6,100 and it's about 6,100 pounds. So the best bet for you is to pay around 6,500 pounds on top of your school fees, and then your current bank statement that you had started would be valid. And I think that's a lot of money for a lot of people. But what you need to know is, in most schools, you actually also need to top up your fees to pay 50%, right? So usually, as at the time you're arriving in the UK, you're supposed to top up to 50%. For, I would say, 85% of the schools, you need to do this. So if you can, just top it up enough, just so that your current bank statement that has already completed the 28 to 30 days can still be utilized. But if that is not possible, then you need to top this money up with the amount that you would need, start your bank statement again, and then apply for visa. Now, this is not going to be an option for a lot of people. Why? Because you have dependents. You know, there's certain factors that you need to consider that I might not be able to speak about here. So what if you've been giving cash already? Yes, before you can actually start counting your bank statement, you have to have gotten your cash. The people that have not received their cash, usually if you have maybe you have a pre-cash, they've accepted your payment, you're already corresponding with the school, and you know the school has given you go ahead and they were accepting you, and you know your cash is coming, you can start counting your bank statement. But ideally, if you've not gotten your cash and you know that cash is not coming, you shouldn't start counting, because why? What is the essence of counting when you don't know if you're going to be going or not? But if you're in the in the know, if you're right and you know your CAS is going to come, then of course you can go ahead and count, right? So this is for people who are expecting their CAS. This is for people who know that their CAS is coming. Then they can start counting. So for now, we have people who are in the process of applying for their visa. Some people have already applied. They have their biometrics, this week. They have their biometrics dates next week, and they've used a rate that the rates of the previous week or 2 weeks ago, and that rate was less than 600. So some people use 600, some people use 650. The only thing you can do in this regard is pay more school fees, contact the school, update your CAS, and then of course you write a letter when you're making an application. That one is the visa application step that I'm not going to be going into. So you can update your CAS with that amount, just so that it will reflect a lesser amount that you are owing, so your bank statements can be better, can be approved. But if not, then you need to top it up and wait. If you've already paid for your visa and you've already paid for everything, I don't know what you're going to do. The ideal thing to do would be to cancel your application and request for your money, but you can't get it back until like 6 weeks, right? And then start another bank statement if you cannot pay, because the risk is too much. If you go ahead with this, they might deny your visa. So it is not something that they have actually talked about. The scholarship discount given by the school is calculated in addition to POF. Usually, yes. If it is appearing on your CAS, yes. It's calculated in addition to POF. If your scholarship is mentioned on your CAS and it is already automatically deducted, then yes, you can remove this money from your POF. But if it is not automatically deducted, then please, even if they are giving you 5,000 scholarships, still show it in your bank account. It's very important, because they might say you don't have enough money, right? So it's either something that has been automatically deducted from the amount showing on your CAS, then you can go ahead and deduct it on your own. But if this is not so, and this depends on schools, there are some schools that will require you to come into the for your studies before the scholarship will take effect. Some are automatic, some is for West Africans, some is for Asians and Africans, some is for people that have certain grade, maybe your first class or your 2-1. There are different types of scholarships, and there are different types of deductions that they do. Some are discounts, some are scholarships, so you need to determine it. So I cannot say a blanket statement here, and I don't want anybody to use what I say here without me knowing exactly what your situation is, and then you deduct this money from your POF, and then you apply for your visa, and then you get denied because you don't have enough money. So you have to be very careful. It needs to be what your CAS says. Now, I said I was going to talk about the people who are looking to study. So I already talked about people that for September. Really, what you can do is just start using minimum of 1,000. And when you get to the point where you want to pay and this thing has surpassed 1,000, pay more school fees. That's just the only thing you can do right now. That's the only thing, because it's a mess. Honestly, it's a mess. And everybody's running helter-skelter trying to find out. The good thing, the thing that we pray for is that for this month, I think I saw something like that, but I'm not going to be quoting anywhere, but I saw something like the UKVI is going to be using about 600 or 601 or something to calculate for June. I haven't gotten any clarity on that, so I'm not going to be announcing it here, but maybe these embassies are going to do something for us, because the exchange rate is so volatile. It's changing so rapidly. Nobody can actually predict what amount you're supposed to use. So let's just pray that we get some form of update soon. But if we don't have that, you do the best that you can. Either pay more school fees or have way more than the quoted amount in your bank statement. Now, for people that want to go to school in January and beyond, you just need to watch out for what is happening now, right? And start gathering the money that you would need. The best thing for you to do is just have it in mind that if you're going to a school in Canada, if you're going to a school in Ireland or any other country, or even in the UK, you have to be using what the prevailing black market rate is, plus, in my own opinion, 100 to 200 naira. So let's say today we're seeing 880 something naira for pounds. An additional 100 naira on that should be what you're considering, because at the time you're ready, this amount might have increased, and if you have it, you can actually use even 200 naira on top of that. The good thing about this is we might actually have the ability to pay. Let's say you want to pay for your visa fee. Initially you need to go to the black market, buy dollar, put inside your dollar card, or pay somebody in the US to use their international cards or whatever. One of the things that we're expecting with this new policy is that our Naira cards will now be working on international websites. So we might be able to use our Naira cards to pay for our visa fee, to pay for anything that we need to do on international sites. And if that is possible, it means that you don't have any need to go to the black market, because I am assuming or predicting that the black market will always be more expensive than what you get in the bank. So if it's a difference of 40, 50, or even 10 naira, it's still something that you're saving, right? It's still something you're saving if your card can make this payment. Also, banks will not take as much time to fulfill Form A anymore, if you even want to use Form A. So since they are now quoting their desired exchange rate, because the banks now have the free will, the freedom to quote their own exchange rate. So you might go to GTB and you will see it at one rate. You go to Zenith or Access and see it at another rate. So there might be like 1 naira or 2 naira difference between banks, and the banks are at liberty to do that with the new policy. So you can go to a bank, and because they now have this money and they can quote using their own exchange rate, you will get your school fees payment done in time. So initially it used to take 2, 3, 4 months, because of the amount of people who needed this particular service and the unavailability of Forex to actually attend to everyone. It was taking a very long time, but now we are predicting that it will not be taking this much. So probably a couple of days into a couple of weeks, the bank would have remitted the money to the school that you're looking to pay to, and then you can have your school fees and then go on with your process. The only downside is that you're not paying almost double, which is almost like paying through the black market, versus if you had paid using the previously pegged exchange rates that the CBN was using. So that's just the downside. So I'm going to start taking questions now. If you have more questions, please just put it in. A lot of people are very, very anxious, especially for you guys who have dependents. If you're going to the UK right now and you have dependents, September is the only time you can go with your dependents. So if you have your wife or your husband, which is your spouse, and you have your kids and you want them to go to school with you, then September is the only time, right? And there's no option for that in January. There's no option for that going forward, and we don't know how long this policy is going to last. And the conditions for Canada, conditions for Australia, which are other countries that you could move with your family, and also conditions for the US, is not something that a whole lot of people can meet. People do meet it, but the UK is way easier for people to meet than those other countries that I just called. So if you desire to go with your family, then you need to take action now. You need to start planning to have more money for your proof of funds, or just go ahead and pay more school fees if you've already started counting your bank statement. So I'm going to take questions now. Sorry, pound is how much? Okay, I think I've already answered that. So what if you've been giving cash already? So if you've been giving cash already, you need to start counting your bank. So that's the only thing. You just need your financial statement to be ready, and then you apply for your visa. Right now, a lot of people usually they would have started maybe a week or two before their cash comes, and then need to wait some couple of weeks more for their bank statement to be ready before they apply for their visa. If you've already started with a lower figure, let's say you're 1 week or 2 weeks into counting, just go ahead and top it up and make it up to like 900 to 1000, and then wait for another 28 days. But if it is already complete, say you have your 28-day bank statement, then and you don't want to start another one, you can quickly make a deposit, pay more school fees, and ask for an updated CAS. The good thing is that you have 31 days between when your bank statement is printed and when you can submit it for your visa application. So you still have allowance to be able to pay more school fees, get a new CAS, and blah blah blah, then apply for your visa. So there's still allowance if you can do that. The scholarship discount given by the school, is it calculated in addition? So I think I've already answered this. It depends on the type of scholarship that is given. If it's an automatic discount that is quoted there and that figure is deducted on your CAS already, then yes, you can go ahead and deduct it. So let's say your CAS, it says your fees is 15,000, right? And then you've paid 5,000. Usually the visa officer is going to do a calculation. Do you understand? So they know that you are supposed to have 10,000, right? Some of these scholarships will not appear on your CAS document. You need to get to the school first before you can start doing it. But some of them will be quoted on your CAS saying, okay, there's a 1,005 discount, there's a 1,000 discount, there's a 2,005 discount. In that case, if it is deducted, then yes, you can deduct it. But usually we still advise, go ahead and have your complete money, just so that the visa officer that is looking at your application does not find one reason to deny you because of because of your financial bank statement. What is the new rate for calculating proof of funds for school fees balance? So the new rate proof of funds, if you're talking about the UK, I say is 1,000 naira per pound, because every day it's been increasing. About, I think on Monday, was it on Monday or on Friday, it was about 700 and something. Yesterday it was 840 something. The first day it was 830 something. Today is 885. It's changing, and you need to have more than this in your bank account. So if you use any figure that is less than 885 as of today, you are wrong. And I'm predicting by tomorrow this figure might have increased, probably even up to 900, right? So safest bet, please just use 1,000. That's what we're advising. It might still not be enough, but at least you have the option of topping up your school fees, just so that it can reduce the amount of money you need to pay. The amount of money you need to have in your account, and then maybe you can now fall in between the appropriate figure that you need to have. So that's the option that you can explore. Can somebody have more than the specified amount? Yes, please. That's the best. So we're talking like this because most people just have the amount. It's a lot of money. If you're a family of 4 or 5, you should be having anywhere from 30 to 40 million, depending on the school, the amount of school fees you've paid, your proof of funds, and every other family member proof of funds. So you should be having close to 30 million. Now with the current increment, you're probably supposed to add an extra 10 million or more. So it's a lot of money for you to have, and some people do not have this. And that's why I'm just talking using the barest minimum you can have. But if you can have more than that, say you need 10 million in your bank account and you have 30 million, why not? Please show it. All you need to do is just that. If you're using, like you said, if you're using your parents' bank account, you need to show where the source of that money is coming from, right? Because usually they want to know why so much money. All you need to do is let them know, okay, I'm a business person or I'm a salary earner. Put some kind of proof to show that, okay, this money is legitimately made, and then you're good to go. It's better to have more than to have less. What's the new Oanda rate? So you can go to Oanda every day. The rate I'm going to call now is as of today. Yesterday it was different, and I'm very, very certain that when I check tomorrow it's going to be different. So today's rate is 885.45. So let's just say 885. That other figure there is insignificant. So that's for British pounds. For US dollars, because I don't know the school you're going to, it's 693. So 693 from about 450 or 440 last week. For the euro, it's 757. That's how much the euro is going for now. For Canadian dollars, it's 524, which was around 300 and something before. So that's the going rate on Oanda. So I would advise you go and check every morning or every day, depending if it's morning, afternoon, or night, just to see how it is, jumping. If it's coming down, if it's going up, just to see if you're going to be within the benchmark at least. Okay, you have answered. Okay, thank you. I've answered it. How much do you charge for POF? No, sorry, we don't do POF. We don't charge for POF. Is there assurance that Oanda won't pass 4,000? There's no assurance. So that if you came from the beginning, there's no assurance. Honestly, there's no assurance. So I said use 1,000 because it's like, I don't think, maybe by the time it's getting to 1,000 and everybody starts to shout like, what are you doing? This policy is not working. Maybe CBN will do something about it. Who knows? We don't know, right? Everything is just new. Everything is just starting. But before this rate or this policy came in place, at least the black market was below 450, right? It was around, it was below 950. So it was around 920, 930, 940. It was playing around those figures for a very long time. But it was stable below 950. So then you remove this thing, and then the pound has now shot beyond 1,000. Then maybe something's going to be done about it. Do you understand? But like I said, if you use 1,000 and as at the time you're ready, the 1,000 is still not enough, then you can go ahead and pay more school fees, just so that it reduces the amount of money you need to have in your bank statement. But 1,000 is an okay amount. So even if it's beyond 1,000, it won't be too much. But imagine you use 600 and it's now around 900 and something, or even 1,000. You have 400 naira difference. Even if you want to pay 1,000 pounds, even if it's just 1,000 pounds you need to pay, I think that will be around 4 million, or is it 1 million? Sorry, that will be around, that will be around 400,000. So let's just say you need to pay 6,000 pounds. So if you need to let's say you 400 is now the difference between the 600 that you used and 1,000. Now if you're, let's say, 11 million below, it means that you probably need to pay a whole lot of money to the school in order to become in order to have enough money in your bank account. But when you are on 1,000, you probably only need to pay maybe 1,000 pounds, which is going to be like 800 and something thousand. Do you understand? You probably need to pay 1,005. But when it's too low, you might need to pay way more school fees. You might actually need to pay all your school fees just to be within that particular threshold. So that's something that you might want to consider. So just to be on the safe side, we're hoping it doesn't get to that point. We're hoping that at this point of 885, is going to remain around here for a while until it starts to drop. So all the financial experts are saying, oh, this thing is going to drop eventually, that is just a shock, is this, is that. As more foreign currencies coming in, more investments, people are going to come in to invest in the country, people are going to remit, they're going to encourage our production sector so that we can produce internally and also export, that they are predicting that this figure is going to go down. But for now, that you guys need to do something. Of course, it's, you just have to make do with what you got. Do you think the embassy would use 1,000 above to calculate preferred? The embassy is going to use what is on Oanda, at least for the UK. It's going to use what is on Oanda. What I don't know is if they will give concessions to the people who are already ready now, or applications that are already going to be submitted with bank statements that have already been calculated. Now, the reason why it is an issue is because they need to know that you have this money. And if they are using a figure that is below it, it means you don't have it. It means that you don't have enough money to take care of yourself over there when you do the exchange. It means you don't have enough money to pay your school fees. So if they go ahead and approve, where is the money supposed to come from? They need to be sure, they need to ascertain that you have this money to pay your school fees, so that you don't become a burden on the system. You don't get there and then, we've heard stories of people who go there and they're not able to find accommodation because they don't have money. They're going to the social welfare to help them. People are incapable of completing their school fees. A lot of schools are now sending out circulars and communications and letting students know that these things are not going to be accepted any longer. So a whole lot of things have happened. So this is why